welcome everyone. My name is Nicole and I'm here today with Sia and Winter Jade Isley. And the three of us are going to offer on the 5th of July a Temple of Death, which is a 4-week journey into the dark mysteries. Now, in these weeks, we will journey together through letting go of your fears and control, to live a life greater than you, and to return to your dark core. And many of you have been asking us questions, and so this offering is for you to become more clear on what the frequency of this temple is. And so one of the questions that came in was you sharing with us that you feel that you are in a very intense time, that there are deep emotions moving through your body, that there is fears, despair, and that you're not sure if this is the right temple for you. So, Winter, would you like to share something on this question?
Yeah, sure. This is a question I've had direct contact with. So people have messaged me to ask this very piece, and I want to just articulate a little bit around the temple itself, which is that we're going to gather in a ritual space once a week. So we're going to be all live together, where we'll actually seed that week's temple and offerings. And then during the week, the process is really a self-exploratory journey. So we'll give you rituals and meditation practices and tools to uncover some pieces in your life and to do the deep work. And so because there is a self-pacing in that, it really is up to each individual of what area in their life they're focusing on and the level of depth and intensity that they go to. So we're there to support that container, but the actual work itself and the way you engage in it is actually up to you. And so for every woman or man or being who joins this offering is going to have a very different experience based on what's showing up in your life. So in that way, depending on where you're at, and how much intensity you want to offer into this journey, throw yourself in, is what you'll receive. So
Yeah. And I feel as you're sharing that, I also feel that this temple can be exactly of support in the despair and in the terror, and in the fear, and in all the self-doubt that is so much present right now. Because this is a temple where we go into a shedding, where we go into a deep letting go of all these layers. So it's not a space where we're going to bring a lot of new input and new layers on top of the old, but it's a place where we go into releasing and shedding really deeply. So in that sense, it can be of a huge support in your despair and in your fear and in your insecurities.
I feel also, like that we are kind of like co-creating all together, like everyone that is joining us is going to be like vibrating together, and it's that support. So I feel like everyone that is going through anything right now that is so challenging, they can feel the support of three of us and also all the group together. And that we shared before, that this is like kind of like offering that we put ourselves in the altar, we put ourselves in service. So we are going to be held also for the dark and for the cosmos, for matter. So it's kind of like, all right, I surrender for whatever is happening within me. I'm gonna be held. Yeah, for me, it's the opposite. This temple is very feminine. It's very soft. It's very like totally against the fast and that I have to. It's like I'm just surrender. I'm gonna solve myself. Yeah,
beautiful.
I also think a lot of the practices we're going to be offering are really supportive of what's navigating the planet at the moment, that's affecting us in all different ways. So I do feel like there's not a lot of direct work around death or how to actually meet death in our lives or navigate those different ways of death, which is, it could be grief or loss of a job or, a loss of a shift of identity, or, there's so many ways that like death shows up. And I feel like it's going to be such a beautiful tool to navigate life, actually, and particularly during this current global crisis. And certainly there's more to come, that we're actually going to meet it steady on, with a steady gaze and give you ways to inquire about death in your own life. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's as Sia said, I agree, it's a beautiful supportive framework for yeah, wherever you are, whatever's unfolding.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you might notice also that as the quarantine is opening back up again, that people are also going back into their running, into their fastness, into their, yeah, into their hastiness. And so this temple is also a reminder that actually we cannot go on as we used to do, that actually there is an invitation for something deeper that wants to emerge. And I feel also for the ones who are wondering, like, what does it mean, you know, the dark mysteries or going into the dark, going into the death? Why would we even want to go there? And it's about, so the dark, I get this question actually a lot, like, why would we go in the dark? Isn't that like a bad thing or a scary thing or and so, what we mean when we speak about going into the dark is in a place where we are letting go of the planning and of the strategizing and of the structuring, where we are going to surrender to a deeper mystery, to a deeper intelligence that will move us. And so, if I feel that we are in a planetary invitation to let go of moving through life, doing and planning and controlling, and instead surrendering to a deeper intelligence that wants to move us.
And it's also, you know, for me, like death is, we're always talking spirituality about the feminine and masculine, and the feminine itself, you know, it's this darkness, this nothingness, this dark space of the womb where we can totally like release, and is the formless itself. And you know, it's funny because for me the word death is it was for many years really scary. Like it was death, fuck, what is that, you know, like really I feel the fear in my body. And right now that I'm really like vibrating death in my being, I can see that it's just like the end of conditioning, of attachment, of desires, of patterns that has been like vibrating in my being, and I couldn't really live from my essence and my soul, because that it was just like a kind of like cloudy my vision. I couldn't connect to that instinctual primal wisdom and intelligence, and embracing death and embracing that fear that just the word itself is vibrating. I feel so much release, so much softening in my body, so much space. And yeah, I feel like that is the medicine for what is happening right now in the world, that we need to really step out into that space.
Yeah, I'd love to share this piece that just come up as you're talking, Sia, from Stephen Jenkinson, who talks about death being our greatest, our most loyal companion in life. And that he shares that if you don't know when your death's coming, then you're not rooted in life. If you don't have your gaze open to feel when the endings are coming and the vibration of decay creeping in, then we're not truly living a rooted life. And actually the process of physical death, when we all die physically, it's said that the spirit leaves the body from the base. So it starts up from the base and it goes through our centers, and it can hover at different parts of the body, and then eventually comes up through our crown. And so this offering is actually starting at the base, which is the very first part of the death that we have to meet, which is our physical death, or the death of the material, and that's linked into survival. And a lot of our, the way you put it, the cloudiness is really held in the base, and a lot of the clinging and the grasping is held on the base, which stops actually the primal life force being able to move through from the earth and from matter. And then we take it up to the heart, which is the next place where death can linger, and certainly when the soul can move up. And that's really about the clinging to relationships or neediness or connections or identity based on someone outside of us, and how do we navigate letting go and living and loving as a soul, as opposed to a form, an attachment to a person, you know, in a form of someone who's on the end of something. How do we release relationships that actually are long well past their use by date, or ones that have created so much grief and trauma? How to let them go, you know, where there's been pain from breakups or loss. And then finally going up to the crown, or up to the, you know, the the higher note of our being. It's how do we release identity, so when we die, we let go of the identity of this being, of me as Winter, as a woman with a daughter on this planet Earth. Like, I have to release my form of identity in order to return to the great dark oneness. And so the last part of offering is actually how to release identity attached to the mind. And then the final gate is going home to the void, which is to even us a mystery. We're yet to unpack that gate. But actually it is really going back to the dark core, which is the ocean of oneness. So it's the dark that's at the center of the planet, the center of cosmos, and the black hole, the center of our atoms, is a dark core. And when we live from that place, we're living in the mystery, moment to moment, arising. And so that's kind of how the offering is going to mirror the process of death in our lives.
Beautiful. And I love that you bring this in, Winter, of the dark core. And I feel also like what came up is my experience in the darkness, 12 days and nights. And what I found is actually when we go so deep into the dark, that the dark is also a light. It's a dark light for me. So what I felt in the darkness was a brightness in that. And I could feel that the brightness of the dark was naturally unwinding all these contractions in my body. So as you were sharing about the base, what I feel in our base is that many of us walk through life with our butt clenched almost, so when there is change coming up, or when we are invited to let go of something, it's our butt that does this. And so I feel that also starting at the base is like the first important thing to do, is that we learn to relax our base, that we learn to open our root and welcome these primal energies into the body. And that can come with a lot of fear. Yeah.
I love that. I love, Nicole, you speaking of the dark having its own light, because I certainly experienced that too. And it feels like it's radiance. It's a dark radiance. And I'd love to discern a little bit between when people say, and I see one of your questions that you got was, why are we not going to the core of light, and why dark? And actually, from my teachers and understanding that the dark is the well, or the oneness, the ocean of everything. And actually light is the illumination of form that comes from the dark. So actually the light we could see is the light of the sun, which is linked to the soul, which is the individuation of the self, or the form. So light's beautiful, and it creates form and separateness and individuality, but dark is that oneness. And when we live from that dark oneness, we're being animated by something that's not us, or not individual. It's by a deeper current, and it's radiance. It's radiant, actually. So I hope we get that. I'd love us to all get like this group to be living dark radiance together for this offering.
And I guess like for me, like the goal of all of this is to live more fully. Like this is not to like to numb ourselves. It's the opposite. Is to be able to tap into this totally surrender for the life to come, and really like be aware, be present, and be alive. So that is the intention.
Yeah, exactly. And the portal to being truly alive is death. Like living like like, again, this is another, I'm into Stephen Jenkinson. He's a grief walker, and he talks about when you live in a death affirming reality, where death is literally your companion every day, and you could die in each moment, then how do you look at a flower? Like the way you look at a flower is going to be looking at it with such aliveness and such presence. And I think that, whereas opposed if you're just gazing upon a flower in a life affirming reality, where death is not a companion, it's just a flower you see every day. You'll see another one and another one. And I love that it brings you to the edge of aliveness when we have death as our deepest companion. And I'd love this planet to be living in that much aliveness, that we would be less doing and planning and constructing and striving, and we'd be more resting in something that's actually more real, which is magic that's here in this moment. So
even listening to you, I feel wonder opening in me. I feel like, oh my God, wonder opening as I tap into this. It's amazing. Yeah. And I feel from that, actually, all we have to do is dying. Like, we don't have to focus so much on more life, more life, more life. But as we die deeper, more life will naturally become available. And I feel that's the gold that death holds.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, without being a doomsday, like, person, if we don't meet death in life, it comes and takes what we formed. So it comes for us. And my experience, everything I cling to in my life, eventually I lose, because that's not how life works. Life gifts us with experiences, with a relationship, or with a new job, or an abundance of money. And if we don't let it go and see the gift that it was, that it didn't come, we didn't create it or bring it towards us. We didn't generate it. The dark did, life did. If we don't actually hold that gift in that, with that reverence, it's taken from us. It's like, if we cling, life unclings it. And so I'd rather live in the current of actually seeing the gift for what it is, as opposed to just trying to build structures around it and preserve it, and we concrete it and solidify it and calcify it, and actually live with my fingertips and my hands open, to let these gifts just move through as they need to. And I would love more people to experience that as well.
Beautiful. Yeah. I feel also like what came up is like recently, as I canceled my retreat that was coming up in June, I decided to offer it completely back to life, meaning offering refunds, just giving the opportunity for it to completely fall apart, right? And there is such a power in, instead of like you said, that life needs to take it away from you, that we decide to offer it back to life. And then just with open hands see what happens. And what I find is that so many times a deeper version arises, like a deeper retreat came back to me now, or a deeper relationship comes back, or a deeper truth inside of us comes back. And so I feel that the Temple of Death is also an invitation to dare to give it back to life without life needing to rip it away from you.
Yeah. And that acknowledges its true ownership, which is not us. Like we think we're the manifestors of our reality. It's actually, we're missing a big piece. That actually there's a great energy that is animating everything, that is part of us, but actually it's not the I that's creating these things. And but the I then holds it, and we get a relationship, and then we put all the barriers around it, and our rules, and our and we smother it to the point where we lose it. And I think that we do that because we don't trust that great I, the great ocean, is going to keep bringing more love and life and experience. So we hold these precious moments. And it's a brave path to realize that it's all going to go anyway.
And
I feel also like this, that this offering that this offering is also a service to the world. Like I feel in my own experience that I do this for me, for my own unfoldment, but also for the collective. Like knowing that we really, really need this right now. We need to just bring consciousness to the unformless and celebrate the form. We need to just like start like shedding like everything that we think we are, like, and coming into that current of life. But it's a service. It's like, right, I'm doing this for me, but also for the one, for humanity, for the soul of humanity. So so I mean, like I say this because I want to call in the people who wants to be in service, the people who feels like I want to do something for the world. And I feel like if you really like tap into your own transformation, you are tapping into the transformation for the collective. And then I think it's gonna be fun, the three of us together, like the ceremony. Like, it's gonna bring so much fun because we can die with fun too. So calling that into this offering.
I love that you bring that in, because it can feel intense, this topic and this vibration. It can be an intense space, but I do feel that the more and more my being becomes like familiar with death, the more I can allow that to be in my being and in my life, the more lightness also comes with that. So it doesn't have to be a serious or heavy thing. It can come with lightness while there can be a huge intensity in the same time.
Yeah,
We are the death
often,
masters.
yeah, death sensei. I also feel that, I feel that what comes with intensity and deep transformation is ecstatic energies. And I know recently I was sharing with these guys before that this week I've been in a lot of grief. I've just been feeling a lot of collective grief and personal grief, and actually what's come through that cracking and letting the grief move, so letting these energies, letting them go, has been ecstasy, moments of deep ecstatic energy and aliveness. So I agree, it's not heavy, and actually it's the opposite. When we fully give ourselves to these processes and to shedding, it's quite the opposite. It's beautifully ecstatic and joyful.
Yeah, for me, the last 3 months we were here in isolation, and I was in very self-retreat by myself. I went through deep states of death and experiencing feelings and emotions that I haven't allowed myself to deep into. And I remember some days that I just have this just laughing about myself, just laughing about the dramatic being that I am, and how beautiful, glorious, great my own destiny, and it was just tears, the tears is wow. And it was so much healing in that. So I would like to bring this into the offering, so to be able to just laugh about our home and celebrate that.
I think that'll certainly happen, particularly when we get to identity. We'll just be like, oh my God, these crafted beautiful things we made. What is this? We let them go. We'll be peering at ourselves in such a unique way. Yeah. There's so much healing in the joy of shedding, and the joy of awakening to ourselves.
And I feel like bringing in also around my journey started with ascension, right? So it's only for the last few years that I'm really descending down, and I can really feel that for the ones who recognize if your journey started with ascension and you also feel that your journey now is moving more down, then I feel this process of death can really support also in opening into a more solid foundation. Because when our journey is started with ascension, it's very open here, but it's clinched down there. So I feel that the process of that can really help us to descend deeper down, but also to have a more solid foundation in that sense, a wider foundation in our bodies, in our beings, to rest in.
Yeah, it's like the roots of the tree. It's connecting
Exactly.
the center of the planet, of the earth. And I feel the opposite. I've been working so much with the descending, and I feel like now my journey in the last year has been ascending. and actually it's the same, it's the same void. But inviting to the ones that they were in embodiment for many years, and they want to ascend and open the crown and connect it to the cosmic realms. I think this offering is calling this too.
Beautiful.
Maybe we can put a call out if anyone's got specific questions they want to ask, to when this video is posted, maybe to put some questions underneath the video. We can answer them directly as well if there's other places of exploration, just as a extension of this.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do we feel complete, ladies, in this? Anything else that wants to be shared?
I feel complete. Yeah.
It does.
Okay. So if you have any questions, let us know. If you want to share anything, feel free to reach out. We are very available for you. And with that, we wish you a very beautiful day.
Night.
Nice.
and night.
Dark.
And dark and death.